Welcome to my channel. Let me ask you, have you ever heard someone speak English so clearly that you wished you could sound just like them? I felt that too. I wanted that voice, that ease. And then, I found something powerful: shadowing. In this video, I'll take you through my quiet path from silence to confidence, from echoing voices to finding my own. It's a simple method, but it changed everything for me. Maybe it will for you too. So, stay with me. Chapter 1. The first time I heard myself in English. The journey begins with a quiet moment. I hear my voice in English for the very first time. I was alone, repeating a sentence from a short video. My own voice startled me. Was that really me? The words were soft, unsure, but they were English. In this chapter, I share the feeling of speaking a foreign language out loud, how I chose simple sentences from videos, how I whispered them at first, then slowly got louder. The chapter ends with a personal turning point. The first time I recorded my voice and listened back. It was a strange but powerful moment that planted the seed of courage. It was late evening. The world outside my window was quiet, dim, peaceful. I sat on the edge of my bed, holding my phone, headphones in my ears. I had just finished watching a 2-minute video called "Ordering Coffee in English." The lady in the video smiled, looked at the waiter, and said, "Hi, can I have a coffee, please?" Her voice was calm, kind, and clear. I paused the video. Then I said the sentence out loud, copying her exactly. "Hi, can I have a coffee, please?" That was the moment it happened. I heard my own voice in English. And I froze. For a second, I looked around. It felt strange. Not because I had spoken English before, but because this time, it was different. This time, I had heard myself. I had focused. I had listened. And the voice I heard, it didn't sound like me. It was soft. It was slow. It was unsure. But it was English, and it came from me. At first, I whispered. My lips moved slowly, like I was tasting a new food. "Hi. Can I have a coffee, please?" I didn't want anyone to hear me, not even the walls. I repeated it a second time, then a third. Each time, the sentence came out a little more clear, a little more real. Something inside me was shifting. I could feel it. I kept practicing that same line for 5, maybe 10 minutes. I didn't rush. I didn't worry about grammar. I just copied. I listened, and I said it again. My voice started to grow a little louder. I looked at my reflection in the dark phone screen. I smiled, just a little smile, but it was real. That night, I searched for another video, a simple one. I found English Greetings for Beginners. The speaker said, "Good morning. How are you today?" I paused. I said it too. My mouth moved slowly. "Good morning. How are you today?" I was shadowing. I didn't even know that word yet, but I was doing it. And then came the turning point. I opened the voice recorder on my phone. I hit the red button. I took a breath. I said, "Good morning. How are you today?" Then I stopped the recording. My thumb hovered above the play button. I was nervous. but I pressed it. My voice filled my ears. Good morning. How are you today? I listened. I didn't sound like the speaker in the video. I didn't sound confident. But I sounded real. I sounded like someone who was trying. That moment gave me goosebumps. I sat still, holding my phone. I played the recording again. And then again. I couldn't believe it. That was me. Speaking English. Not just thinking in English. Not just reading. But speaking. I wasn't fluent. I wasn't fast. But I was speaking. I remember smiling to myself. My heart was beating fast. I felt something growing inside me, not pride exactly, something smaller, something quieter, a kind of gentle bravery, the seed of confidence. I didn't tell anyone about that moment. Not yet. It was just between me and the screen, me and the sound. But I knew something had changed. I had heard myself, and I didn't hate what I heard. I wanted to do it again. That night, I made a promise to myself. Every day, just 5 minutes, I would pick one sentence, one small video. I would copy it, I would speak it, I would record it, and I would listen to myself. The voice I heard on that first recording, it wasn't perfect, but it was mine, and that voice would lead me on a quiet journey, a journey of repeating, shadowing, and becoming someone who could speak English with heart, not fear. That was the day I heard myself, and that was the day my journey really began. Chapter 2. Copying, not creating, why that helped me. I used to think I had to invent my own English sentences. That was too hard. So I began to copy. In this chapter, I explain how I used short English videos, conversations, greetings, small talk, and repeated them word for word. I mimicked not just the words, but also the tone, speed, and emotion, like a singer learning a new song. I talk about how copying helped me remove fear, and how it felt good to say perfect English without the pressure to create it. The top moment is when I copied a full dialogue and could say it without looking. I felt like an actor on a stage. In the beginning, I thought learning English meant making sentences by myself. I thought I had to be original. I thought I had to create new phrases from my brain and speak them out loud. That idea made me tired and scared. I would sit there thinking hard, trying to build a sentence. It felt like I was in an exam. Every word had to be correct. Every verb had to be in the right place. And I was afraid to be wrong. So I stayed silent. But something changed when I started copying. One day I watched a video called Daily English Conversation at a Restaurant. It was only 1 minute long. 2 people were talking. The waiter said, "Good evening. Can I get you something to drink?" The woman replied, "Yes, I'll have a lemonade, please." I listened once. Then I played it again. This time, I said the sentences with them, slowly. I copied the voice of the waiter. "Good evening. Can I get you something to drink?" I said it again, and again, and again. I wasn't trying to be perfect. I was just copying. I wasn't making English. I was borrowing it, like a child repeating the words of a parent, like a singer practicing a famous song. I didn't need to understand every word. I just needed to say it, feel it, hear it. It felt so different from studying. There was no pressure. I wasn't being tested. I wasn't being judged. I was just practicing. And something beautiful happened. I enjoyed it. The sentences felt natural in my mouth. I liked the rhythm. I liked the melody of the voices. I liked how the words rolled together. Yes, I'll have a lemonade, please. I repeated it 10 times. I could feel my tongue getting used to the shapes. My lips started to move more easily. My confidence started to grow. I didn't know it then, but this was shadowing. This was the method. I picked more short videos. I didn't care if they were cartoons or real people. I picked ones that were simple, clear, and warm. I watched a video called Asking for Directions, another one called Meeting Someone for the First Time. I didn't skip around. I stayed with one video until I could say the words smoothly. I copied their tone. I copied their pauses. I even copied their smile. When the woman in the video said, "It's so nice to meet you," I smiled too and said it with her. "It's so nice to meet you." I felt like an actor. I was learning a role, but the role was me in English. The pressure was gone. I wasn't sitting with a blank page thinking, what do I say now? I already knew. The sentence was in front of me. All I had to do was echo it, and when I did that, I sounded better, more confident, more correct. One night, I decided to try something new. I found a short scene from an English drama. It was a man and a woman talking in a cafe. Only 6 lines of dialogue. I watched the clip 5 times. I listened carefully. Then I played it again, but muted. I spoke their lines from memory. "Hi, is this seat taken?" "No, please sit." "Thank you, I love this place." "Yeah, the coffee is great." I said all the lines, matching their tone and feeling. When I finished, I laughed, not because it was silly, but because I had done it. I copied a full dialogue and said it without looking. I felt like I had just performed a scene in a play. My words were not mine, but my voice was. That moment was powerful. I realized I didn't have to invent English in the beginning. I could borrow it. Like a child learns to speak by copying the people around them, I was learning by copying people on the screen. Slowly, those borrowed words would become mine. The more I copied, the less scared I felt. I started to enjoy the repetition. It made me feel safe. It made me feel strong. And little by little, I began to remember those phrases, not just in practice, but in real life. At the fruit shop, I once said, "Excuse me, is this fresh?" The sentence came from a video I had shadowed weeks ago, but now I was using it in real life. It didn't feel copied. It felt natural. It felt right. That's the secret. You copy at first, but soon those copies become part of your own speech. And when someone hears you and replies, when someone understands you, that's the moment you feel proud. So if you're starting English and you feel stuck, don't worry about making perfect sentences. Don't try to be original. Not yet. Just copy. Find a video. Repeat the lines. Say them slowly. Say them with feeling. Say them until they feel like yours. Copying is not cheating. It's learning. It's practicing. It's building your voice, one sentence at a time. And one day, you'll say a sentence, not from a video, not from a book, but from your heart, and it will sound just like the ones you copied. Only now, it will be your own. Chapter 3. The mirror was my classroom. This chapter takes place in front of my mirror. That simple glass became my teacher. I talk about how I practiced shadowing by watching my face, mouth, and body language. I tell stories of funny moments, how I laughed at myself, how I made weird faces, and how I kept trying. I explain why seeing myself speak gave me confidence. I was no longer afraid of how I looked or sounded. The emotional spike comes when I look myself in the eye and say, I can do this. Not perfectly, but proudly. One day, I moved from my bed to my mirror. I had my phone in one hand and my earphones plugged in. I opened the video again. Simple English greetings. But this time, I didn't just listen. I stood in front of the mirror and watched myself speak. I had never done that before, and I didn't expect what would happen next. At first I felt shy, silly even. I looked at my face. I saw my mouth move slowly, awkwardly. Good morning. How are you today? My lips didn't look like the speaker's lips. My voice didn't sound like hers. I blinked. I hesitated. I almost gave up. But something in me said, try again. So I did. I played the video again. The speaker smiled and said, Good morning. I said it with her. Good morning. I looked at my lips. I looked at my eyes. I looked at my posture. I noticed everything. The mirror became more than glass. It became my classroom. Every day after that, I returned to it. I would stand up, hold my phone, play a video, and shadow the speaker. I copied their words, their rhythm, their emotion. I also copied their smile. I said, Nice to meet you, and tried smiling just like the woman on the screen. Then I looked at myself. It was weird at first, but then something happened. I smiled for real. Sometimes I laughed at myself. There were funny moments. Once I tried saying, I'd like a salad, please, but my lips made a strange shape. I stopped, looked at myself, and burst out laughing. Another time, I tried to speak too fast. My tongue twisted. My face looked like I was chewing a lemon. I laughed again, but I didn't stop. I kept trying. The mirror didn't judge me. It didn't laugh. It just reflected me. Honestly, kindly. I started noticing little things. My lips were too tight when I said, please. My tongue stayed too low when I said, thee. My shoulders dropped when I got nervous. But the more I practiced, the more these things improved. I stood straighter. I opened my mouth more. I relaxed my eyes. Slowly, I started to look confident. I wasn't copying anymore. I was becoming. One afternoon, I stood in front of the mirror for a long time. I was practicing a conversation. Hi, what's your name? My name is Ronnie, and you? I'm Sarah. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you too. I said it over and over. Each time, I looked into my own eyes. I wasn't just repeating lines. I was speaking to myself, with myself, for myself. Then I paused. I looked deep into my eyes. I took a breath. I said softly but clearly, I can do this. I don't know why, but I felt a wave inside me, a small, warm wave, like a quiet cheer. My voice wasn't perfect, my sentences weren't fast, but they were mine, they were real, and they were English. That was the moment I stopped being afraid of how I looked or sounded. I saw my face, I heard my voice, I accepted them both. The mirror didn't lie. It showed me everything, but it also showed me progress. Each time I stood in front of it, I got better, not just in speaking, but in believing. I wasn't waiting for someone else to tell me, "You're good." I was telling myself, "I can do this." Not just once, many times, every day. I would finish my mirror practice by saying those words. Some days I said them with a smile, some days with a sigh, some days with a tear, but I always said them. Over time, the mirror became a friend, a space of no pressure, no rules, no judgment, just a place to see myself grow. So if you're learning English, I want you to try something. Don't hide from your reflection. Go to it. Stand tall, play a simple video, watch, listen, copy, and speak. Look at yourself, not with fear, but with kindness, and say it with me. I can do this, because you can. Chapter 4. Speaking without thinking too much. One problem I had was overthinking every word. Shadowing changed that. In this chapter, I share how the rhythm of repeating full sentences helped me speak without planning every word. I describe how muscle memory helped my tongue move more easily, and how shadowing trained my ears to expect the right sounds. I also share how I stopped translating in my head and started just speaking. The top moment comes when I answer someone in real life without thinking and realize I said it right. There was a time when every English word in my mouth had to first take a long walk through my brain. I would hear a question in English, and my mind would rush to translate it into my own language. Then I would build the answer in my head, in my own words, and finally try to translate it back into English. It was like carrying water in a leaky bucket. By the time the words came out, they were either broken or completely gone. This was one of my biggest problems. I thought too much. I paused before every word. I corrected myself before I even spoke. I judged my grammar before the sentence even existed. It made speaking very hard. It made it slow. It made me feel tired and unsure. But then shadowing entered my life, and slowly, it began to fix this problem. With shadowing, I was not building sentences from pieces. I was repeating whole sentences, just like a song. When a singer learns a song, they don't stop to analyze each note. They just sing. The melody becomes part of their body. That's what shadowing started to do for me. I didn't just say the words, I sang the sentences, the rhythm, the tone, the feeling. They all started to live in my mouth. I remember one sentence from a video that I practiced every day for a week. "Can I help you with anything else?" It was from a supermarket video. The way the man said it was smooth, fast, and friendly. "Can I help you with anything else?" I copied it again and again. Not just the words, but the breath, the beat, the exact way his voice dropped at the end. At first, I repeated it slowly, then faster, then naturally. I didn't need to stop and think, can I help you? It started coming out as one block of speech, like a dance move you practice until it flows. And it wasn't just that one sentence. I shadowed many like it. Do you need a bag? It's on the second shelf. I'm just looking, thank you. These were not words anymore. They became habits. They became muscle memory. My tongue, my lips, my breath, all working together without stress. One evening, something amazing happened. I was at a small corner shop looking for biscuits. I found them, took them to the counter, and waited. The man at the register scanned them and then asked, "Would you like a bag?" And before I could think, my mouth replied, "No, thank you. I have one." The words came out before I planned them. There was no translation in my head, no building blocks, no delay. I just spoke. He nodded and said, "All right," and I walked away with a smile on my face. A big smile, because something inside me clicked. I had spoken English without thinking too much. I kept smiling the whole way home. That moment felt small, but inside me it felt huge. It was proof that shadowing was working. It was proof that my brain was slowly switching to English mode. Not word by word, but sentence by sentence. And I didn't have to be perfect. I just had to be clear. And I was. Later that week, I noticed the same thing happening more often. At the cafe where I worked, a customer said, "This muffin is great," and I replied, "I'm glad you liked it." No thinking, no panic, just words coming out naturally, like I had said them before. And I had, many times, in front of my mirror through my headphones, repeating after those voices in the videos. I also started to enjoy listening to English more, because my ears were getting trained. I could hear the music of the sentences, not just the grammar. I could predict what someone might say next, because I had shadowed similar conversations. It made conversations smoother. I started to trust my ears, and I started to trust my voice. That's what shadowing really gave me. Trust. I trusted that my mouth could say the right words. I trusted that my ears could catch them. And I trusted that my brain didn't need to control everything. I could let go. I could let the sentence happen. So if you're like I was, if you feel stuck because your brain is working too hard, try shadowing. Repeat real conversations. Let the sentences live in your body. Don't try to build the language, just live it. One sentence, many times. One video, one voice, again and again. And one day, you'll open your mouth and English will come out. Not perfect, not planned, but smooth, real, and right. And you'll walk home with a smile that no one can take away. Chapter 5. My first real conversation after shadowing. After many hours of shadowing, something incredible happened. I had a real conversation with a tourist, a teacher, or a stranger. I tell the full story, where I was, what I said, how I felt. I explain how all the sentences I had shadowed came back to help me. It felt like I had trained for a play, and now I was finally performing. The peak moment is when the other person smiles and says, "Your English is good." That single sentence becomes a gift I treasure for weeks. It happened on a sunny afternoon. I was not planning to speak English that day, not really. I was just walking along the main road near my school. The trees were bright green. The sky was soft blue. I had just finished a small meal and was thinking of going home when I saw him, standing near a map posted outside the bus stop. He looked confused, holding a phone in one hand and a small paper in the other. A tourist, a stranger, a chance. He looked up, made eye contact, and said, "Excuse me. Do you know how to get to the old fort?" My heart skipped. It was like a soft alarm went off inside me. English. He spoke English. For a moment I almost said, "Sorry," and walked away. But then something happened, something from inside. The words I had shadowed, repeated, whispered to myself for weeks. They started coming back. Not all at once, but just enough. I stepped closer and smiled. "Yes," I said. "The old fort is about 10 minutes from here." He smiled back. "Oh, great. Can I walk?" "Yes," I replied. "Go straight. Then at the traffic light, turn right. You will see a sign. It's near the big garden." I didn't think about the grammar. I didn't panic. I didn't translate. I just said it. And he understood. "That's clear, thank you so much," he said. "Your English is very good." That sentence, that one kind sentence hit me like sunlight. Your English is very good. I couldn't stop smiling. I said, "Thank you. I'm learning. I practice every day." He nodded, looked relieved, and followed the direction I gave him. And I just stood there, completely still, holding the joy like it was something warm in my hands. I had done it. I didn't just repeat a line from a video. I had a real conversation. I helped someone. I used my English in real life. And it worked. I walked home slowly that day, feeling taller, stronger, free. The road looked the same, but I felt different walking on it. I replayed the conversation again and again in my head, just to taste it. "Do you know how to get to the old fort?" "Go straight, turn right, near the garden." "Your English is very good." I wanted to write those words in the sky. When I reached home, the first thing I did was write the entire conversation in my notebook. I didn't want to forget a single word. I even wrote down how I felt. Nervous, then ready, then proud. That night, I looked in the mirror and shadowed my own conversation. I said the same lines again. "Yes, go straight. Turn right. It's near the garden." I smiled after each sentence. I felt like an actor who had trained for a long time and finally got a role in a play. And here's the truth. Shadowing had prepared me for that moment. I had said "go straight" 100 times in videos. I had copied "turn left at the next corner" in front of my mirror. I had practiced giving directions without really knowing when I'd need them. And now, suddenly, they were useful. They came naturally. I didn't search for words. They found me. That was the first time I truly believed in shadowing. Before that, I only hoped it would help. But now, I had proof. Real proof. After that day, I walked with more confidence. I looked at tourists differently, not as strangers, but as opportunities. I listened to English more closely. I shadowed with even more heart. I didn't do it to be perfect. I did it to be ready for the next real moment. And guess what? A week later, it happened again. This time, a teacher at school asked me something in English. I replied without thinking. Not nervous, not slow, just clear. And she said, "Your English is improving a lot." I smiled and said, "Thank you. I'm practicing shadowing." She paused. "That's a great method. Keep going." So I did. Every day, a little more. Every day, one more video. One more sentence. One more smile in the mirror. I wasn't just learning anymore. I was living the language. And it all started with one brave moment at a bus stop, one helpful answer, and one powerful sentence from a kind stranger. "Your English is very good." Those words stayed with me. They still live inside me. They are not just praise, they are proof. Proof that effort works, that practice matters, that shadowing is not just a trick, it's a bridge from fear to fluency. If you are learning English, I want to tell you this. Your first real conversation is waiting, and when it happens, you'll feel what I felt. A spark, a smile, and something strong deep inside, and you will remember it forever. Chapter 6. Turning mistakes into practice. I wasn't perfect. I made many mistakes while shadowing. I copied wrong words. I said things too fast. I forgot meanings. But instead of stopping, I turned those mistakes into fuel. I tell the story of a video where I misunderstood the speaker, said the wrong sentence to a friend, and got corrected, but kindly. I share how I laughed about it later, practiced more, and came back stronger. The emotional peak is my realization. Mistakes are not shameful. They are signs of progress. I used to think mistakes were the end. I thought that if I said something wrong in English, people would laugh, or worse, they would walk away. That fear stayed in my chest for a long time. Every sentence I spoke felt like a test, and I hated failing. But when I started shadowing, something slowly changed. Not because I became perfect, but because I became brave enough to be wrong. There was this one time I shadowed a video that I really liked. It was a simple cafe conversation. A woman was ordering a sandwich, and the man behind the counter said something like, "Would you like that toasted?" I thought I heard, "Would you like that tested?" So I copied it, again and again. "Would you like that tested?" I even said it proudly in the mirror, smiling like I had learned something special. A few days later, I was at school and my friend Sarah had a sandwich in her hand. I smiled and asked her, "Would you like that tested?" She looked confused. "Tested?" "Yes," I said, like warm, grilled. "Oh," she laughed. "You mean toasted." My face turned red. I laughed too, but inside I felt embarrassed. I had said the wrong word. I had copied it wrong. I wanted to run away. But then Sarah said something that changed how I felt. "That's a cute mistake," she smiled. "But you're doing great. Keep going." That sentence was like water on fire. It cooled my fear. I wasn't being judged. I was being helped. Later that night, I played the video again. I listened more carefully this time. "Would you like that toasted?" Ah, now I heard it clearly. toasted, not tested. I had been wrong, but now I was right. And this time, the learning stayed with me. I didn't avoid the sentence. I didn't delete it from my notebook. I wrote both versions. Wrong. Would you like that tested? Right. Would you like that toasted? I even added a smiley face next to it, because now it was a memory, a moment of laughter, not shame. There were other mistakes too, like when I copied a sentence too fast and left out words, or when I spoke so quickly that I didn't sound clear, or when I misunderstood the meaning and used a word in the wrong way. Once, I shadowed the sentence, "I'm in a bit of a rush," and I thought it meant, "I'm feeling excited." So I told my teacher, "I'm in a bit of a rush today," smiling happily. She blinked and asked, "Oh, are you late for something?" And that's when I knew I had misunderstood. But again, she didn't scold me. She explained gently, "It means you're in a hurry, like you don't have much time." I nodded, I laughed, and I remembered, because the mistake had meaning now. It had a face, a story, a correction that felt like a gift. The more I shadowed, the more mistakes I made. But the more mistakes I made, the more confident I became. Not because I liked being wrong, but because I stopped being afraid of it. Mistakes became my guide. Every time I copied a sentence wrong, I learned to listen more carefully. Every time I used the wrong word, I learned to check meanings. Every time I got corrected, I learned something I would never forget. That's when I realized mistakes are not shameful. They are signs of movement, of progress, of practice. Every mistake I made meant I was trying. Every correction meant someone had listened. Shadowing wasn't just about copying sounds. It was about falling, getting up, and walking again. It was about smiling at yourself when you say tested instead of toasted, and then coming back the next day to get it right. Now, when I make a mistake in English, I write it down like a small trophy. Not because I'm proud of the mistake, but because I'm proud of what I learned from it. One of my favorite sentences in English is, "I'm still learning," because it's always true. So if you're shadowing and you mess up or someone corrects you, don't feel small, feel strong. You are doing what many people are too afraid to do. You are trying. And every mistake is a stepping stone to a better sentence. One day you'll tell a friend, "I used to say tested instead of toasted," and you'll both laugh. And in that laughter, you'll hear something beautiful. Growth. So keep shadowing. Keep speaking. Keep smiling at your own small errors, because they're not failures. They're footprints on your path to fluency. Chapter 7. Sharing shadowing with my friends. I wasn't alone anymore. In this chapter, I share how I introduced shadowing to a friend who also wanted to improve English. We picked videos together, shadowed in turns, and gave feedback. We laughed, competed, and improved together. This chapter shows the power of community, even if it's just one more person. The spike moment is when my friend thanks me and says, "I spoke to someone today," in English. I realized that sharing what helped me made the journey even more beautiful. I remember the day clearly. It was after school. The sun was low in the sky, and the air smelled like fresh rain on hot dust. My friend Imran and I were walking home together. We usually talked about football or lunch, or sometimes even school homework. But that day, I told him something different. I said, "I've been doing something new with English. It's called shadowing." He looked at me, curious. Shadowing? Yes, I said, feeling a little excited. It means you watch an English video, then you speak with it, like you copy the speaker. Same words, same voice, same feeling. He laughed. That sounds like karaoke without music. I laughed too, but then I said, it helped me. Really helped. I talk better now. I feel more confident. He was silent for a few seconds. Then he said, "Can I try too?" That small question made me feel something big inside. I said yes right away. The next day, we met at my house. I pulled up a video, just 1 minute long. A simple scene, two people meeting for the first time, greeting each other. "Hi, nice to meet you." "Nice to meet you too. Where are you from?" "I'm from Brazil. And you?" "I'm from India." That was it. Just a short, easy exchange. We watched it once. Then we watched it again. Then I paused the video and said, "Let's do it. I'll be person 1, you be person 2. We tried. We messed up. We spoke over each other. We laughed so hard we had to stop. But then we tried again. And again. We switched roles. We slowed the speed. We mimicked the tone. We even tried to copy the smiles of the people in the video. It was fun. Not like class, not like homework. It was like a game. Every afternoon after that, we picked one new video, sometimes a short cartoon, sometimes a restaurant scene, sometimes even weather reports. We sat with phones in our hands and notebooks open. We played the lines, copied them, and then challenged each other. Let's see who can say it clearer. Let's see who sounds more like the speaker. Let's see who can remember the sentence without watching. We became partners, teammates, not just two boys learning English, but two voices growing louder, stronger together. We made mistakes, a lot. Imran once said, "I am exciting," instead of "I am excited." I laughed so hard I almost cried. He chased me around the room with a pillow, but later he corrected himself and never made that mistake again. I once said, "I am boring," instead of "I am bored." He laughed just as hard. We made jokes out of our errors, but we always corrected them, and we never forgot them. One day, something beautiful happened. We were walking home again. Imran was quiet. Then he looked at me and said, "I spoke to someone today, in English." I stopped. "Really?" He nodded. There was a tourist at the tea stall. He asked where to get a SIM card. I told him to go straight and turn at the bakery. He smiled. He said thank you. I didn't say anything for a moment. I just looked at him. He looked a little surprised by himself. Then he said, "It worked. Shadowing worked." And I smiled the biggest smile. That one sentence, "I spoke to someone today," felt like a celebration. It wasn't my sentence. It wasn't my story. But in a way, it was, because I had shared something. I had opened a small door, and someone walked through it. That night, I wrote in my notebook, "Helping someone speak English feels better than speaking it alone." After that, we weren't just shadowing students. We were shadowing teachers for each other. We recorded our voices and shared them. We corrected each other kindly. We even made a small chart on the wall with our favorite shadowed sentences. Where are you from? Would you like anything else? Let's catch up later. Every sentence had a memory. And something else happened too. More friends became curious. They saw us speaking more in class. They heard our pronunciation improve. And they asked, "What are you doing?" We said, "Shadowing." And the circle grew. That's when I learned something deeper. English is not just a skill, it's a gift. And like all real gifts, it becomes more beautiful when you share it. Now, when I shadow, I imagine Imran too, speaking beside me, laughing, correcting, improving, his voice and my voice learning together. And I think, maybe this is how English grows, not alone, not in silence, but in friendship, in laughter, in sharing. So if you find something that helps you, don't keep it inside. Tell a friend, share a video, shadow together, because one day they might come to you and say the words that made my heart full. I spoke to someone today, in English, and you'll know you've done something truly powerful. Chapter 8. The Day I Spoke Like My Shadow. This chapter is powerful. One day, I meet someone who sounds just like the speaker I had shadowed for weeks. Same accent, same speed, same style. I speak to them and realize I can understand them. More than that, I can speak like them. I don't panic. I don't freeze. I talk. This chapter is a celebration of voice mirroring and how listening deeply helps with understanding and replying. The emotional peak is when the person says, "You speak like a native." Even if it's not true, it feels amazing. It was a Tuesday afternoon. The cafe was busy but calm. Light from the big window fell across the tables, and the sound of the coffee machine was steady and familiar. I was wiping down the counter when the door opened. A man walked in, tall, light-skinned, blue shirt, phone in hand. He looked around quickly, smiled, and stepped up to the counter. "Hey, how's it going?" he said casually in a smooth voice. And in that moment I froze, not because I was scared, but because his voice, it was the voice. Not the exact person, of course, but the same accent, the same pace, the same friendly rhythm I had been shadowing every day for the last 2 weeks. I had found this YouTube channel called Daily English with Mike. The speaker, Mike, talked about daily things in a relaxed, natural way. I had shadowed his video called "Ordering Coffee Like a Pro" maybe 50 times. I knew every sentence, every pause, every rising tone. "Hey, how's it going?" was the first line in that video, and now someone was saying it to me. For real. I blinked. I smiled. And something strange and beautiful happened. I didn't freeze. I didn't overthink. I opened my mouth and said, "I'm good, thanks. What can I get for you today?" It came out smooth, natural, almost like I was Mike. The man nodded. I'll have a medium cappuccino, and do you guys have almond croissants? I said, yes, we do. One medium cappuccino and one almond croissant coming up. We kept talking. He asked if we had Wi-Fi. I said, yes, the password's right there on the wall. He made a small joke about the weather. I laughed and replied. Everything was flowing. My words came easily. His words made perfect sense. It felt like we were in a video, the same kind I had been watching and copying for weeks. But this time, it wasn't practice. It was life. He paid and said, your English is really good, by the way. You sound like a native. I smiled, but inside, I felt something lift me up. Me? A native? I knew it wasn't fully true. I still had my accent. I still made little mistakes sometimes. But in that moment, it didn't matter. Because he said I sounded like a native. That meant I was clear. I was confident. I was understandable. And that was enough. He sat down at a table, opened his laptop, and started typing. I stood behind the counter, heart still beating fast, but not with fear, with joy. I had done it. I had mirrored a voice so many times that it became part of me. And when I met someone who sounded like that voice, my ears didn't panic. They didn't struggle to understand. They recognized the music, the rhythm, the sound, and my voice. It joined in. That night, I opened the same video from Daily English with Mike. I played the first sentence. Hey, how's it going? I paused it. I said it myself. Hey, how's it going? Then I smiled. It was the same. Not perfect, but close. Very close. I looked at myself in the mirror and whispered, you're becoming the voice you shadowed. Shadowing had done something more than teach me English. It gave me the rhythm of real conversation. It trained my ears to listen, not just to words, but to feeling, speed, pauses, and expressions. And it trained my mouth to speak, not with fear, but with flow. I realized something powerful that day. You don't always need grammar books. You don't always need long vocabulary lists. Sometimes what you need is to hear real English and become part of it. Shadowing helped me do that. It turned strangers' voices into familiar sounds. It turned sentences into songs I could sing. And it turned me, from a silent learner, into a confident speaker. The man stayed for about an hour. Before he left, he came up to say goodbye. Thanks for the coffee, he said, and really great English. I said, thank you. That means a lot. And it did, because that day wasn't just about speaking well. It was about seeing proof that all my quiet practice was working, that all those whispered sentences in my room, all those lines in front of the mirror, all those laughs with Imran, they meant something. I was changing. I was growing. And the world was beginning to hear it too. So if you're shadowing and wondering if it's helping, believe me, it is. One day, you'll meet someone who speaks fast, naturally, like in the videos. And you'll understand them. You'll speak to them. And maybe, just maybe, they'll say, you speak like a native. And you'll smile, because you'll know. It all began with a voice you borrowed, until it became your own. Chapter 9. How shadowing helped me in other areas. Shadowing didn't just help with English. It helped with interviews, school presentations, and even social confidence. I share how I began to speak more clearly in my native language. I stood straighter. I used pauses better. I listened more. The chapter dives into how confidence in one area creates confidence in others. The top moment is when I speak in front of my class and feel no fear, just focus, flow, and pride. Shadowing started as just a way to improve my English. Nothing more. I didn't expect it to touch any other part of my life, but it did. Slowly, quietly, it began to change things I hadn't even thought about. One morning, I was getting ready for school. I stood in front of the mirror, my usual practice spot. I shadowed a short video, something simple about shopping. How much is this? Can I try it on? Do you have this in a larger size? I repeated the lines slowly, watching my mouth, standing straight. Then I stopped. I looked at myself, and I noticed something strange. I looked more confident. My shoulders were up, my face was calm, my voice was steady. That's when I realized shadowing wasn't just helping me speak English. It was helping me feel brave. I started to see it in other places. In school, when a teacher asked a question, I used to look down or pretend to think, even if I knew the answer. But after weeks of shadowing, I started to raise my hand. I started to speak, not only in English class, but also in science, in history, even in Urdu. My voice was clearer, my words were smoother, even in my own language. And it wasn't just the words, it was the rhythm, the pauses, the calm between thoughts. Shadowing had taught me how to take my time, to breathe, to speak with care. In interviews, I began to feel more comfortable. Before, my voice would shake, my hands would sweat. But now I reminded myself, I've said these kinds of sentences 100 times in front of the mirror. I've played this game before. I remember one school presentation clearly. We had to talk about a book we had read. I chose an English book. Just a small story, but I loved it. The day of the presentation, my name was called. I stood up and walked to the front of the class. Usually, my heart would pound, my knees would shake, my voice would crack. But not this time. I took a breath. I smiled, and I began. I spoke slowly. I paused in the right places. I looked at the audience. My words came out smoothly, one by one, like water. I was speaking in English, in front of the whole class. And I wasn't scared. For the first time, I didn't hear fear in my voice. I heard focus. I heard pride. When I finished, my teacher smiled. My classmates clapped. I returned to my seat with my heart full. That day, I wrote in my notebook, shadowing gave me more than English. It gave me strength. Even at home, my family noticed. My uncle once said, "You speak more clearly now, even in Urdu." My sister joked, "You sound like a YouTuber now." But she was right. Something had changed. I listened better too. Shadowing had trained my ears to really hear, to catch tone, emotion, and meaning. I became a better listener, even with friends and family. I didn't interrupt as much. I waited. I responded with care. It was as if all the little skills I practiced while shadowing, listening, copying, pausing, pronouncing, had joined together and built something bigger. They had built a stronger me. One day, I was walking home with my friend Imran. He said, "You know, you seem more confident these days. Not just in English, just overall." I looked at him and smiled. He was right. I felt it too. I had become more sure of myself. Not because I knew everything, not because I was perfect, but because I had practiced something deeply and consistently. And that practice had changed me, not just as a student, but as a person. That's the real power of shadowing. You think you're only repeating someone else's words, but with every repetition, you're also shaping your own voice, your real voice, your confident voice. And when you hear that voice, not only in English, but in everything you do, you start to believe in yourself. So if you're out there shadowing English videos, remember this. You're not just learning a language. You're learning how to stand tall, how to pause, how to listen, how to speak, not only to others, but to yourself. And one day, you might find yourself standing in front of a crowd, or speaking in an interview, or telling a story to a friend, and you won't be scared. You'll just speak, clearly, calmly, proudly, because you've been preparing for this moment, one sentence at a time. Chapter 10. My Voice, My Way, Shadowing to Speaking Freely. This is the final chapter and a strong emotional one. I reflect on how I started, repeating videos in a whisper, scared to even speak. Now I speak freely. I still shadow sometimes, but now I also create my own words. I tell the story of a video I made, my own voice, my own story, in English. I play it back and feel proud. This chapter is about transformation. The top moment is when I say to myself, "This is my voice, and I love it." Shadowing was the bridge. Confidence is the other side. It began with a whisper, just one quiet line from a video. I didn't even know what it meant fully, but I said it anyway. I sat in my room, door closed, phone in hand. I pressed play. I heard the sentence. I paused. I repeated. I whispered. I was scared that someone would hear me and laugh. That was the start. Shadowing. Repeating other people's words. At first, I didn't trust my own voice. I didn't believe it could carry meaning. It felt strange. I didn't sound like the people in the videos. I thought maybe I never would. But I kept going. Sentence by sentence, smile by smile, breath by breath. And now, it's different. Now I speak freely. I don't whisper anymore. I don't hide. Sometimes I still shadow, not because I'm scared, but because I enjoy it. It's like music practice. Even great musicians play scales. But I also do something else now. I speak my own English. I create my own sentences. I tell my own stories. A few weeks ago, something special happened. I was feeling inspired. I sat in front of my phone and pressed record. But this time, I wasn't copying anyone. It was just me. I looked into the camera, took a breath, and started talking. Hi, my name is Ronnie. I used to be afraid of speaking English, but I'm not afraid anymore. And today, I want to tell you why. That's how it began. No script, no video to follow, just my voice, my story. I talked about how I used to sit in front of the mirror and shadow, how I laughed at my mistakes, how I learned to speak clearly, how one sentence led to another, how people started to smile when I spoke, how I started to smile too. When I finished, I looked at the video. My finger hovered over the play button, and then I watched it. I listened to my own voice, not whispering, not unsure, speaking, not perfect, but proud. I heard every word and every pause. I saw the way I looked, open, honest, and real. I wasn't trying to sound like someone else. I was sounding like me. That moment was powerful, because for the first time I said to myself, "This is my voice, and I love it." I didn't always feel this way. I used to hate the sound of my English. I thought it was small, weak, wrong. But now, I don't chase perfection. I chase progress. I chase meaning. I chase joy. Shadowing helped me cross that bridge, from fear to freedom. It gave me training wheels. And then, one day, I didn't need them anymore. The things I once copied now come out naturally. The words I once repeated now live inside me. And the voice I once borrowed has grown into something that is completely, beautifully mine. That's what learning should feel like. Not pressure, not shame, but movement. From silence to speech, from echoing to expressing. I still remember the first time I ever heard myself say a full sentence in English. I had whispered it. I had doubted it. I had almost erased it. And now, here I am, recording myself and saying, "Let me tell you my story." If you're still at the beginning, if your voice is still shaking, if you still press pause too often, just know this. That's okay. You're not behind. You're not bad at English. You're just beginning your own quiet journey. And maybe one day, like me, you'll press record, you'll speak, you'll watch yourself, and you'll smile because you'll realize something powerful. You're not copying anymore. You're not hiding. You're not whispering. You're speaking in your own way, with your own voice. And that voice, it's beautiful. This is the final chapter of my shadowing story, but it's not the end, because now every sentence I speak is a new beginning, and it all started with a whisper. Shadowing was the bridge. Confidence is the other side. Now you've heard my story. From whispering along with videos to speaking with real confidence. Shadowing is not magic, it's a habit, but it works. If this video gave you an idea, some hope, or even a little push to try shadowing, then I'm glad. Now it's your turn. Find a short video. Listen. Repeat. Shadow your way to confidence. If this video helped you, please give it a like. Subscribe to my channel for more stories, tips, and easy English learning. And if you've tried shadowing or want to try it, tell me in the comments. I'd love to hear your journey.